to talk briefly about how you can avoid your refund getting delayed. So if you are someone that normally receives a refund, and this is different for everyone because it really depends on your tax situation, okay? There's people that will receive a refund, there's people that will not receive a refund, and they will actually have a tax liability. There's many factors that go into that. You know, your income is one of them. That's like the biggest factor. Your income, if you have any children, your filing status, and a few other things. So for those of you that normally receive a refund, one of the ways that you can avoid for your refund to be delayed is by not doing your own tax return. And I can't stress this enough. And the reason why I'm speaking about this is because we actually had a lot of clients last tax season who reached out to us and came here to our office and, explain that they did their own tax return, they answered some questions incorrectly, or they put in the incorrect information by mistake, or they didn't really understand something and they made a mistake. So when you make a mistake and you already have sent your tax return to the IRS, you will receive most likely a letter, or you will have your refund delayed because now the IRS is looking at the tax return and they're seeing that there was a mistake or an error made, or just the information is not correct or doesn't match. And now it's going to take them twice as longer to process that tax return because now they have to make sure that they have the right information, and they have to get that information from you, and then you have to amend the return. And it's just a long process, okay? As we all know, Uncle Sam is very busy, and even though they hired a lot of new people for this season coming up, they're just very busy over there. So if you can make this season stress-free for yourself, it will help so much the process of like how fast you will receive your refund, and everything will go smoothly with Uncle Sam, where you will have no issues or no problems later on in the near future. So if you are not familiar with the tax laws, if you might have a complex tax return because you have kids, you have maybe rental properties, maybe you have stocks that you invested in stocks during the year. If you have a lot of things going on in your tax situation, in your personal situation, I advise you to invest in, because I see it as an investment, right? You are investing in your tax preparation services, because by investing and paying a tax professional, you will avoid all of the headache and frustration and mistakes and errors that will then lead to further problems with the IRS. So I suggest that instead of you trying to do your own tax return and not really understanding the tax laws or understanding, if you qualify for certain credits and deductions, then try to avoid that altogether. Because if you do make a mistake, you will then have to amend your tax return and you're going to spend more. It's funny because most people will want to do their own tax return. And I know this because I ask my own clients when they come to our office and they're like, yeah, I used, TurboTax, or I did my own tax return online because I was trying to save money. And that's understandable, right? As humans, everyone's financial situation is different. So there's no problem in saving money, but the problem lies where you don't know what you're doing. And when it comes to dealing with the IRS, that information is so sensitive and it can create a bigger problem. It can create you being audited. It could create your refund being delayed, or you thinking that you might receive a big refund, but it's because you put the incorrect information when you did your own tax return. So later on, you will receive a letter from the IRS saying, hey, you're not, this is the amount that you're getting, and you might be surprised. So there's like a whole bunch of things that can happen when you do your own tax return. So that's why my advice as a tax professional who is always studying the tax law and keeping up to date with all the IRS changes. And, this is what I do. And I work with so many people, not just during tax season, but during the entire year. I just advise everyone to avoid having the IRS, send you a letter later on for payment because maybe you put income that you weren't supposed to, or maybe you didn't report enough income. It could be a lot of many different factors. So before you think about doing your own tax return, think about all the other problems attached to that later on. And I know you might be trying to save money, but when you have to get your tax return amended, now you have to go to a tax professional, and the tax professional will help you make any of those corrections needed. And they're going to charge you. They're going to charge you for that service. And now you have to resubmit your tax return to the IRS. And now it's going to take them longer because it's an amended return. So if you're due a refund, so let's say you're due, I don't know, $5,000, and you are anxious because you want to receive that $5,000. Maybe you have traveling plans, or maybe you are counting on that money for, maybe you're buying furniture, whatever it might be. And you make a mistake because you decide to do your own tax return. Well, guess what? You're not going to receive that refund in 21 days. You're not going to receive that refund anytime soon because now the IRS is going to be reviewing your tax return, and they're going to take longer, and then you're going to have to amend those mistakes and errors that you made. So, long story short, in order to avoid your refund being delayed this upcoming tax season, I recommend for you to work with a tax professional that is knowledgeable in tax laws, and they know what they're doing, so that way they can help you prepare your tax return accurately and then submit it to the IRS. Okay. So that's one thing that I wanted to cover. And then the second thing is avoiding a tax audit. So this is where it gets a little complicated, because the IRS has two methods on how they do these, how they select people for their tax return to be audited. So the first method is that you might get selected randomly. Okay. So it's not like they picked your name from a jar and they're like, we have decided today to audit, so-and-so. You actually get chosen randomly. And if you get chosen randomly, this is where it's very important that your tax records are accurate and everything looks good, because you will have to respond to the IRS. And if they see anything, if you're chosen randomly and they see anything that's not right, then you will have to provide them with additional documentation. And that's going to cost you even more if you need to hire a tax attorney, if you need representation. That's going to cost you a lot of money. And you will have to, depending on what year you're being audited, because that's the thing, like you might get chosen not for this tax year. It might be for like last year, or they can go back up to 6 years. So that's why it's really important that you try not to do your own tax return if you are not knowledgeable around tax law. And if you're not sure of the information that you need to be providing on your tax return, because you can get audited at any time and it will cost you money and time. And usually when someone is chosen, so that's the first method. You can be chosen randomly. The second method is if you have a business, a partnership with someone, and maybe that person was selected to be audited. Well, if you have a partnership, then you're also going to be audited. And if you do your own tax return, or even if maybe you worked with a professional, because I mean, sometimes things happen, right? Tax professionals, we are human. We're not robots. And maybe sometimes, someone made a mistake, or maybe you provided them the wrong information, or just forgot to give them all of your income. And then the IRS sends you a letter requesting more information, and then it becomes an audit. Well, those are all different scenarios that can happen. Okay. So you can be selected for an audit, and you want to try to avoid that, right? Sometimes it's out of your control because you might be selected randomly. But in order for you to try to avoid that, is for you to not do your own tax return if you don't know what you're doing. And if you are working with a tax professional, for you to make sure that you are providing all of the correct information that is needed. So if you have two jobs, make sure that you're reporting those two jobs. You're not hiding any income. If you have kids, if you whatever your tax situation might be, just to be honest with your tax professional, be transparent, so that way they can better assist you in getting this tax return filed. And the most important thing is to make sure that all the information is correct, right? Because when you sign that return, you are attesting that, hey, I'm saying the truth. Everything on this return has been verified, and I'm confirming that this information is true to the best of my knowledge. So the IRS receives that signed tax return and they see something's not right, they're going to send you a sweet letter. Uncle Sam is going to send you this sweet letter in the mail requesting more information, or letting you know that you have been chosen for an audit. So those are two different ways that you can try yourself to avoid getting your refund delayed, is by not doing your own tax return. I know that everyone wants to save money, but sometimes I always say cheap means more. Like, the less you pay for something, it just means that it might cost you more down the road. So work with a tax professional that can better assist you, someone that is knowledgeable, someone that can really understand and help you with your individual tax situation, and also someone that will be able to help you with the IRS if need be. So if there's any issues that come up later down the road, or maybe you need representation or whatever it might be, make sure that your tax professional will be able to assist you with those things as well. And the most important thing, that your tax professional is available during the entire year, not only during tax season, because there are a lot of ghost preparers out there that they just do taxes during tax season. They close their office and then they disappear. Well, what happens if you get your taxes and you done, and then you receive your refund and everyone is happy, but then all of a sudden you receive a letter from the IRS, let's say in June? You want to be able to have the flexibility and availability to go over to your tax professional to ask about the letter, if they can help you, or if they can give you some direction or advice, or, just help you out the best way they can. So I hope this video was helpful. Tax season is around the corner, so these are things to just think about. Like I mentioned before at the beginning of this video, we had a lot of clients last year that unfortunately they had to amend their return. So they were expecting the refund, at a certain day, well, the IRS never gives you a specific date anyways that they're going to deposit that money in the bank, but they do say, to give them at least 21 days for processing. But we all know that Uncle Sam is very busy. So sometimes that 21 days can be longer. So I always say just be patient. And one of the fastest way to get your refund is making sure that you have a bank account set up. I do not advise any of my clients to request to have a check sent by mail, because so many things can happen. The check can be misplaced, it could be lost, stolen, like so many different things. And then you would have to, that's another process. Then you have to call the IRS and let them know that you never received the check. And that's just, you want to avoid that too. Okay. So I advise everyone to have their refund deposited electronically into their bank account. That is the fastest way. And yeah, in order to avoid any other hiccups along the way, just make sure that you're working with someone professional and that you are providing all the information necessary in order for them to do your tax return. Because like a lot of our clients, when they had to amend their tax return, they had to wait even longer to get the refund. Okay. And there's like no time, they don't give you a specific time to give you the refund. So like, let's say you did your own taxes, you sent them to the IRS, and then you realize you made a mistake. So now you have to amend your taxes. The IRS is not going to say, okay, well, it will take us a month or 2 months. There's no time with the IRS. So that's why this is really important, guys. If you are due a refund, you need to try to avoid it by all means. Do not try to do your own tax return, because mistakes can happen. Okay. Even it could be a grammar error, like you misspelled something. You have to amend it and get it corrected. And this will delay the refund that you're going to receive. And also, you don't want to be selected for an audit because you are inputting the wrong information. All right, guys. So I hope this was helpful. If you need a tax consultation or a tax appointment, reach out. You can always send me a private message. You can always use the link that I'm going to leave here in the comments and just fill out, that link is to fill out the new client form. It's really short. You just put your like basic information and we will reach out to you. We will give you a call. And I believe the link is also in my bio. All right, guys. So super excited to be on here today. I will hop on hopefully sometime next week with some more information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time. That's what we're here for. We're here to educate our clients, because we don't like to just prepare taxes and like, okay, here, your taxes are done, go home now. We like to educate our clients, because I think that is important that you understand what's happening with your tax return. I can't stress this enough, how many times I've seen people just like have no clue what their tax return, even like what those numbers are, like what their standard deduction is, what their AGI even means. Like, you need to educate yourself, because this is part of your, like, this is your finances. This is like your taxes are part of your finances, and it's important for you to educate yourself and ask questions. It's important that whoever you work with to get your taxes done is also explaining things to you and is keeping it real. Okay, keeping it real. That's really important. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys hopefully soon in the next video. Have an amazing rest of the week, and God bless you. Bye.